It is surgery day. It is like 6 something in the morning. Actually got up a few hours ago because they wanted me to chug this Gatorade 3 hours before surgery. Surgery's at 7:30. So I got up at 4:30 in the morning and I chugged that, and then I had to put on this patch behind my ear. I don't know if you can see it. That's for nausea. 3 hours before the procedure as well. So I got up and did that. I was so tired I could not record. Went to bed later than I wanted to last night, but now I'm back up. I went back to sleep for like an hour because we have to be there at 6:45. So now I'm back up, about to shower, what you hear, get dressed, and then head there. So I'll keep you guys posted with today.
Down, but now I'm up. This all got this ain't no love. Yeah, I used to be stuck in that love.
Walking up. My outfit. Not the most fashionable, but comfortable. And now we're here, 4 weeks post-op, y'all. That was not my plan. Literally the last clip I shared from surgery day was like minutes before being rolled back into surgery. And I had all intentions on not only vlogging me coming home that day, like getting back settled at home, but also doing like day 1, day 2, day 3, at least for maybe like the first week, because I know how helpful that is. I watched a lot of other people's journeys who documented their mommy makeovers, whether it was on TikToks or YouTube. And a lot of people did like day 1 post-op, day 2 post-op. And I do feel like that was very helpful just to kind of get a realistic view of, or somewhat of an idea of, what the recovery will look like or be like, especially for somebody like me who's never had major surgery, never been cut. I know how helpful that is. So I had all intentions on doing that. And week 1, literally probably until like day 8, day 9, when I started to feel some relief, was a literal show. And you'll find out why I say literal in a little bit once I detail each day. But yeah, I was in no position or space or place to film content that first week post-op mommy makeover whatsoever. So I'm sorry I didn't capture that for you guys, but I hope to like break down each day so you can kind of have a view of what that first week of recovery was like. But just to keep it 100% real, it was pretty rough. It was rough. It was intense. And it's crazy because everyone says that. So even going into it, I tried to like mentally prepare, because almost every comment I read or every like video I watched, even under all the comments, seeing other people that have had the procedures and that were like sharing feedback, everyone says like the first week is the hardest, and if you can make it through the first week, then you're kind of like on the other side of it, which was the case for me. But what I experienced that was hard was unexpected for me. But I almost feel like it's just one of those things that, you know, people say that, you could tell yourself that, like, if I could just get through these first 7 days, like, you know it going into it. But it's one of those things that just until you don't really know what to expect truly, just until you're. But before I jump into detailing the first week, I just want to say I'm 4 weeks out now. I am feeling great. I'm still not 100%. Yeah, I'm still very restricted. There's a lot of things I can't do until my 6-week visit and post-op visit. And once I get clearance at 6 weeks. So not 100%, but I feel great. And I am very, very, very happy with my decision. So I want to start off by saying that before I get into the details and the nitty gritty, because I don't want to scare anyone away, but I also want to be very real and transparent with how the recovery's gone so far. But I do not regret my decision. I definitely feel like it's going to be one of the best decisions I made for myself personally, at least in my adult life. And so many people say this procedure, especially for mothers, is life-changing. Literally, people use those words like it was life-changing, and I definitely feel like that's going to be the case for me once the dust settles. But even now, still early in my recovery, only 4 weeks post-op after a major surgery, I feel great, and I'm very, very, very happy with my decision and glad I went through with it. Just in case you're new here, I suggest you go back and watch. I think I've done 3 videos so far while I was doing the mommy makeover, the pre-op, and then I did a video on all the things that I bought just to make my post-op recovery easier. So you can go back and kind of get a little summary for that. I have a cough drop right here, literally, because if you've been watching all the videos, I think on the very first one, I literally said I have a cough before I even had the surgery. And I was like, I'm so nervous about having this cough before the surgery because I heard coughing post tummy tuck is horrible, and I still have a cough almost over a month later. So I definitely need to go to the doctor. But anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to preface this whole video by saying that I'm very, very happy with my decision. So let's get into week 1. But outside of that, I would say day 1 and day 2, I slept a ton. They tell you like the first, even like day 1, but the first few days, they really recommend you like getting up every 2 hours, moving your body. That's just for blood flow, circulation, to prevent blood clots. But I will say, and I don't know if you're supposed to do this or not, but I pretty much slept all day, like day 1 and day 2. Besides using the bathroom, I think having to use the bathroom so much was a blessing in disguise, because that did force me to get up. And my bathroom is not like most master bathrooms where it's like an opening from your bedroom. As you can see, I'm in my master bed. I was over here in my recliner all day, so I had to come all the way around here, go down this hallway, and the bathroom is behind this wall. So that did force me to like get up and walk at least like every 2 hours. I was using the bathroom a lot because they pumped a lot of fluids in me, obviously during the procedure, but I had to get some extra after. Speaking of that, actually, before I get to day 1, let me go back to when I woke up from anesthesia. So I literally walked myself to the OR after I checked in. The nurse brought me to the back. They had me change out of my clothes that I came there in. They put me in a robe. They wiped me down with whatever, I don't know if it's alcohol, whatever they used to wipe you down. My doctor marked me all up. I had to fill out some paperwork. I got my IV, and I have the worst veins for like IVs. It never fails. I don't know if I've ever had a time where I got an IV where it took on the first one. So the nurse tried 2 times. I want to say she tried, I remember she tried here, and then I think she tried in one of my hands. Neither of them worked. She was like, I don't want to poke you 3 times, so I'm gonna get somebody else. I think a CRNA came in, and he was able to get it like at the top of my hand. So that was the worst part of prepping to go back to the OR, is having to get poked 3 times for the IV. But after I got my IV, I walked myself to the OR. They were like, lay face up on this table. It was like this table with a pillow and bright lights. That's all I remember. They were like, lay down face up, and literally lights out. Like, it happens so fast. It's crazy. So honestly, day 1 and day 2, I felt like was very what was expected. Like, it was very uncomfortable. I will say day 1 and day 2 was tough. But honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't want to say it was tougher than I expected, but I feel like I felt more than I thought I was going to feel. Like I said, if you watched my first couple of videos, one of those videos I shared that I had opted to do what's called Exparel. It's not mandatory. It's like an add-on if you want to add it on to your procedure. It was an additional couple $100s. Some people do it, some people don't. Doctors really kind of will tell you what it is and will let you decide. They don't really, well, my doctor really was kind of like, it's up to you. I know some doctors swear by it and thinks and tries to get their patients to do it, but my doctor was more of like, these are the pros, these are the cons. So anyway, I did Exparel, which is, I always say, like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right. I'm not a doctor. I don't know like the medical terms, but basically it's like a numbing medicine, I think I'm saying that right, that they put, I want to say, in your muscles before they sew you back up post tummy tuck, and it's supposed to numb you for like up to 72 hours. And a lot of people say the first few days are the toughest. So if you get that and it numbs you for up to 72 hours, by the time that wears off, you've kind of already made some strides with your recovery. And of course you're still like uncomfortable and in a little pain day 4, day 5, but I think the idea is you've kind of gotten through the really, really rough part of like day 1 through day 3 if you do the Exparel. So for me, I kind of went into it thinking that this was like some type of miracle drug, that if you get the Exparel, you'll be numb, you won't feel anything the first few days. And I will honestly say, for me, that wasn't the case. Or if it did numb me, I cannot imagine what day 1 and day 2 would have been without it. So if how I felt is how you're supposed to feel with the Exparel, I truly cannot imagine like the first few days without it. Because I do remember being like, and I don't remember much from those days because I was heavily drugged, but I do remember being like, did they remember to do the Exparel on me? Did my doctor forget? Because I feel like I feel a lot. And then after that, I woke up dressed, like in the same clothes, you know, when you've been put to sleep. I want to say I was under like 5.5 hours, but obviously when you're asleep, it felt like it was like 10 minutes. And so I woke up dressed, sitting upright on a table, like in the recovery room. And I remember them trying to get me to get in the wheelchair so they can roll me out to Brian. I believe with my doctor, they keep you in recovery for about like an hour. And then if you're doing good, they call whoever is picking you up and let them know that you're ready. So I remember them trying to get me into the wheelchair to roll me out to Brian, my husband. And I kept being like, I remember saying 2 things. Oh, I was saying I was lightheaded. I was like, I'm so lightheaded. And I was saying I was nauseous. Like I felt like I was gonna throw up. They came and brought me like a little throw up bag, and just remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up, which I know is common after anesthesia. People are nauseous. But my doctor kept saying, girl, you cannot throw up. She was like, your diastasis recti, which is the ab separation after pregnancy. She was like, it was so bad. It was worse than I thought it was gonna be, which she already knew it was bad just from my consult and my physical examination. But she said when she opened me up, it was like a 10-centimeter gap. She's been in practice for over a decade, and she said my case was one of the worst that she's ever seen. And she was like, it's so misleading because even at your consult before the surgery, like besides your ab separation and your loose skin, your body frame is like very small and petite, so you would never know that there was like a 10-centimeter ab separation in there. So she was like, if you can try not to throw up, don't throw up. Because she's like, I had to stitch you up pretty tight when she stitched those abs back together. So of course when you're throwing up, you're engaging the core. And she was like, you do not need to throw up right now, like right after surgery. So I was trying everything not to throw up. And they couldn't put me in the wheelchair, so they were like, we're gonna have to hook you back up to your IV. Luckily, they still had this part in, so they didn't have to redo that. So they hooked me back up and they pumped a whole nother bag of fluid in me before rolling me out. So me saying that I had to use the bathroom a lot day 1 and day 2 reminded me of that whole fiasco. So after that, I finally was able to get in the wheelchair. They rolled me out to Brian. I was able to get in the front seat with a little assistance. I hardly remember the ride home. I just remember telling Brian, like, take it easy, no quick turns or anything like that. And then I just remember him like walking me in very vaguely. I went straight to my recliner and like knocked out. And I immediately took my pain meds. And so if you didn't watch my previous videos where I detailed all my pain meds, the heavy pain meds they had me on was hydrocodone and Valium. I was alternating those every 3 hours. So I took, I think, the hydrocodone first, and Brian had an alarm set on his phone where every 3 hours he would remind me to take my pain meds. And so besides that, I was asleep like day 1 and day 2, besides having to get up and use the bathroom very, very frequently. Even throughout the night, I was using the bathroom like 2 or 3 times a night, which was nice because it reminded me to take my pain meds. But I was like, oh my gosh, Brian probably feels like he's like taking care of a newborn all over again, because not only is he having to wake up every 2 to 3 hours to remind me to take my meds, he also had to like physically help me to the bathroom, because day 1, day 2, I had a very hard time walking by myself. So I'm hunched over and he's helping me to the bathroom. Now, I will say, when it came to using the restroom, a lot of people said, once again, on one of my previous videos, I had shared that I got a female urinal so that I can stand up and use the bathroom, because a lot of people had a very hard time sitting down and standing up on the toilet like those first few days post-op. But from day 1, I was able to do that on my own. So I don't know what that was about. Maybe from all the core exercises I did leading up to the procedure, but I had no problems like sitting down on the toilet, standing up by herself. And I feel like our toilet is pretty low in our master bathroom, but I was still able to do that by myself. But he definitely had to like help me walk to and from my recliner. I want to say at least for like the first 3-ish days, maybe 2. And then I started being able to very, very slowly like walk by myself just to the bathroom, and that was it. I will say day 3 and day 4 felt very uneventful. Like I almost felt like I was kind of getting in a groove. I was still pretty drowsy, still taking my pain meds around the clock. I don't remember being in really any excruciating pain. I just felt like, okay, I'm kind of getting in the groove, still like just very tight, very uncomfortable, hunched over. But day 3 and day 4 was like pretty non-eventful, just trying to get myself to eat. A lot of people say you don't have an appetite post-op, which is very true, just from either being nauseous from the anesthesia, just being tight, just being drowsy. So I was trying to like survive off of protein, trying to force myself to eat, because I know like fueling your body for energy and with protein like assists with recovery. So just eating small meals throughout the day, drinking my protein shakes, sleeping. Day 3 and day 4 was very uneventful. Now day 5 is when things took a turn. Day 4 or 5 is when I realized I'm about to keep it very, very real with y'all. So this part may be a little TMI, but I want to keep it extremely real, because there was nobody's video that I watched that really detailed the process that I went through those days. People did kind of hint towards it, but I didn't watch anything that people said it got as bad as it got for me day 5 through like day 7. So day 4 or 5 is when I realized I had not had a bowel movement since the day before my procedure. Now, the day before was on me, because they do tell you in your pre-op that the pain meds you'll be on cause constipation. So they prescribe you a stool softener that I picked up before I even had my surgery, that you start day 1 with the pain meds. It was Colace, and they had me taking it in the morning and in the evening. And I was taking it religiously from day 1. But I knew going into it that you can be constipated, so I should have tried to force myself to use the bathroom the day before my surgery. But I remember I didn't have a bowel movement the day before, and then day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, I didn't have a bowel movement post-op. So by then I was going on 5 days of no bowel movement, and I had no clue how painful and how bad just like being backed up and constipation can be. So when I realized, I was like, okay, I added in a laxative. I was doing the Miralax, which I think you can drink in like your water once a day. So I was drinking that every morning. It was not helping. My poor body, like I could tell it was trying everything that it could, because it was almost like I could literally feel it internally, like my body just fighting, like my intestines or whatever, colon, whatever it's called, like trying to push that waist like down. And it kept giving me the urge that I had to poop. And I was getting up like every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, because my body was like, girl, you gotta go to the bathroom, and like sitting on the toilet, but nothing was happening. And I think I just got so backed up. It had been so long that now it was a blockage, and it had like hardened. Like I said, I'm just keeping it 100% real with y'all. This is not even the worst that it's gonna get. So it had like hardened. I had like a blockage every time I would sit down. Like it would feel like it was coming like right there, and then right when it was supposed to come out, it was like it was just hardened, and I couldn't. And it was so painful. It was literally more painful than giving birth. And I've had 5 babies. I've experienced it all. I've experienced 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 8 centimeters contractions. With Camille, my epidural didn't take until I was like pushing her out. So I pretty much experienced 10 centimeter contractions. I've experienced it all. I've been induced. So with Pitocin, you have even stronger contractions, and those are intense. I've passed kidney stones, like all the things. Nothing in my 35 years of life has been more painful and more traumatizing than that constipation I dealt with post-op. I'm not even kidding you. I'm not being dramatic. I was in full-blown tears as a grown woman. Like I said, had 5 whole kids for probably 2 days straight, like just crying on and off throughout the day because I could not poop. And every time I sat on that toilet, I was in so much pain and agony. It got to the point where I told Brian, you about to have to turn into Dr. Brian today and glove up and get this stuff out of me. But thankfully it didn't get that bad. But I was like, you're gonna have to take me to the ER. Like they're gonna have to do something to unclog me because I cannot go through with this another day. But luckily I have a lot of great medical people in my life. My sister-in-law is a nurse. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my mom's mom is a nurse. Our neighbors, which we're friends with, the wife is a nurse. The husband is an ER doctor, and he's the medical director of ER at one of the largest hospitals in Houston. And so I called our neighbor as well. And she called her husband who was at work, and he stopped and answered her call and was kind enough to like tell her what to tell me. And she called me back and she gave me advice. And so I'm grateful from everyone, from my sister-in-law, my grandma, our neighbors who like tried to help me out via over the phone, but she recommended I do an enema. And that ended up being a lifesaver. Like I literally Instacarted an enema from our local grocery store. It came within maybe like 30 minutes. Brian had to do it on me. Poor Brian. He's probably traumatized from that whole week too, because I had hemorrhoids from straining so much for days. It was just a bloody mess back there. I had tears. It was just very, very bad, very painful, very uncomfortable. It was just a bad situation, not only from the constipation, but just how messed up I was physically back there in my rear end. So told you I was keeping it real. Hopefully this isn't too TMI for some people, but like I said, I've never heard of anyone experiencing this. People will say, oh my gosh, my constipation was so bad post-op, but I didn't get the details. And most people may be like, yeah, I didn't want to go into all of that, but I'm just letting y'all know. And that went on for about 3 days, day 5, day 6, day 7. I finally got the enema on day 7, and it provided instant relief. I literally was praying like, thank you, Lord. Literally, thank you, Jesus, because I felt instant relief from the enema. Now, right after I wasn't 100%, but it took about 2 to 3 days to feel like I was finally cleared out. If you had an enema, if it's one of those if you know type situations, and that was when being so far from my bathroom was not ideal, because after that, my body was definitely clearing out for like 2 to 3 days, and when you gotta go, you gotta go. So I found myself running to the bathroom as quick as I could, but still being in pain from my tummy tuck, to like relieve myself. So I cannot tell you what my pain levels were just from the procedure itself, day 5, day 6, day 7. that was literally out of sight, out of mind. I can't tell you what was going on with my body those days, just from the surgery itself, because due to the constipation that overrode like everything else that I had going on. I will say, prior to then, my breast lift, I did not feel whatsoever, even before the whole constipation thing. And it's funny because people told me going into it that apparently breast lift is more painful than just getting breast implants. So I was expecting to be in a lot of pain up here and just very limited with my mobility, but I didn't feel any pain up here. Now I have heard that there's like a scientific thing, I don't know if this is real or not, but if you have a lot of pain going on in your body in different areas, your body only, or your brain only, will focus on or recognize like where the most pain is coming from. So I'm like, maybe because I have most of my pain like with my with my muscle repair and my tummy tuck, that I wasn't even focused on my breast lift. Now I will say, outside of the constipation, oh my gosh, my kids just got home from school, so they're probably gonna bust through this door any second now. Either my kids or my husband is gonna bust through this door. I closed it so I could like chat with y'all. I will say, after day 7, well, I started to get an instant relief from the enema on day 7. So like day 7, day 8, day 9 is when I felt so much better as far as the constipation. And by then, as far as the surgery, I think that's around the time most people start turning a corner anyway. A lot of people said like, if you could get to like day 8, day 9, after that first week, you start to feel better around then. So once I got some relief from the constipation, for as far as the surgery itself, like day 8, day 9, I felt a lot better. I still wasn't, told you. I still, hey, bud. Hey. How was school?
Good.
Good. Did you move up to your new class or not yet?
Yes.
Changing, so the lighting is changing on my video. But anyway, they threw me all off track. So I started to, once I got relief from the constipation, so if you are thinking about having this, I would start, because most people are going to put you on a stool softener. I don't know. I'm not a medical person, so I don't want to steer clear of giving medical advice, but maybe I'll say, for myself, knowing what I know now, if I could change anything going back, maybe I would have started a laxative along with the stool softener from day 1, or maybe go ahead and just have an enema on deck. If you start to see you're on like day 3, maybe like day 2, day 3 of no bowel movement, because you do not want it to get to the point of being 5 or 6 days that much backed up. So that was the worst part of week 1. Now, once I kind of got some relief from that, other than that, I'll say second worst part was the drain. I just have to be honest. I know, I think I talked about it in the first few videos of like drainless versus drain tummy tucks. And I just know myself. Like, I hate IVs. I hate anything like in me. I'm just really weird when it comes to stuff like that. I hate needles. Like, so I knew from jump, like, I was gonna hate that drain. And so I literally went back and forth on, like, in the beginning, I was adamant about wanting to go the drainless tummy tuck route, but I did end up doing that, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Not so much for the drain, but just so much because of my doctor, because I am obsessed with my doctor. Like, I want to be friends with her in real life. No, she's just like such a like boss babe. Like, I just love her. Anyway, I wouldn't change it for the world, but that I knew I was going to hate that drain, and that was just ended up being the truth. Thankfully, I only had to have one. Some people have 2 drains post tummy tuck. I only had to have one, and I got it out post-op day 9, which is not too shabby. So just 2 days after 1 week, because they'll tell you can have the drains anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. I had a girlfriend that did it, and she had her drains for 3 weeks, and I was like, Lord, please don't let me have that drain that long. It wasn't so much painful. It was just, I think uncomfortable, and also for me personally was like a mental thing, just knowing it was there. I hated knowing that I had like this tube in me and it was coming out of me, and I had this drain that I had to kind of like make sure it wasn't like dangling and I didn't like catch it on anything, and I just hated that part of the recovery. My doctor had it coming out of my, oh my gosh, yes. Mommy's doing a video, okay?
I'm playing. Can I not go to dance my head?
Hopefully no more interruptions. I wanted to film this before the kids got home from school for that reason. But my doctor had my drain coming out of my incision. I've seen some doctors are different about that, but she had mine coming out of my incision. And I started to just feel like some soreness and a little just like uncomfortable, just like right where it was coming out of me. Once again, didn't necessarily hurt, but it was just a weird feeling. And then you have to keep in mind, you have this drain coming out of an incision. And then for my doctor, since I had lipo foam. So it was like flat under a lipo foam. Then I had a compression garment over the lipo foam, which was suctioning that drain. So hated the drain. Some people say it doesn't bother them at all. It wasn't painful, it wasn't uncomfortable. Other people, I saw more people say that they hated the drain than not. But for me, I didn't like it, but I was grateful that I didn't end up having to have it too long. So I had my first post-op visit, day 5. I was miserable that day when I went there. I think the staff probably was like, poor baby, because I was walking through the halls like, I would have my eyes closed while I was talking to people. And that was like that day that my constipation really like started and then took a turn from there. But when I went back, my second post-op was day 9. And they were like, we could tell you're a lot better than when you came in here for your first post-op visit. Now, speaking of post-op, I feel like I'm not going in order, but I'm doing this as I remember, because now it kind of feels like a faint memory being 4 weeks post-op. But speaking of post-op, so my doctor, you'll see a lot of doctors, and I've noticed with plastic surgery, as far as post-op care, it varies so much. So you really just have to kind of go off of how your doctor does things, because every doctor is different. As far as when they want you to start lymphatic massages, when they say you can have your first shower, when they see you after your procedure, like it seems like it varies so much. I saw a girl, I was watching her TikTok, and she said her doctor does not let his tummy tuck patient shower for 21 days. I've never heard that before outside of her. I feel like some people said like a week, some said 2 weeks. My doctor's rule was you can't shower until your first post-op visit, which for me was day 5 post-op. And she said she used to do like the very next day or like 2 days, but which I see a lot of doctors do more often, like the next day or like 2 days post-op, you go for your first visit. But she says she noticed that people were just so miserable like at that stage, that she didn't like having to make them like get back in the car, drive to her, get out of the car, go up to her office, all of that, and then do all of that to come home. So she pushed that first post-op visit out. But you are allowed, like if you feel like you want to see her just for your peace of mind, make sure everything is going okay, then you are more than welcome to like schedule an appointment before post-op day 4. And I guess it may depend on what day of the week you're doing your surgery. I think I had mine on a Wednesday. Was it a Wednesday or was it a Friday? I think it was a Friday. Was it? I don't know. It was December 11th. So I'll have to go back and look and see what day. But I remember it fell over a weekend, and then my post-op visit was on a Tuesday. So maybe because it was later in the week, and then we had the weekend, and then it was that Tuesday. So anyway, that's when I had my first post-op appointment. So that was pretty much week 1. Well, like I said, once I turned that corner, things got a lot better. I was still like uncomfortable, just dealing with certain things. I would say after that week 2, the only thing that really stands out to me in my mind was that dang faja. And so the faja is a compression garment you have to wear post-op. If you have lipo, then you have to put lipo foams in the compression garment, because it just gives you even more compression. And then also it's like a barrier between that tight garment and your skin and the incision and everything. But they want it to be extremely tight. Like my doctor said, her rule of thumb is like, you should be uncomfortable. So once you're getting comfortable, that means your swelling is going down or you're getting smaller and you need to size down in your faja. So just every time when you think, okay, I can breathe, I'm getting comfortable, that means you should size down. So I sized down twice just within maybe like 2 weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, I sized down in faja. So I left in a medium. I remember my second visit on day 9 post-op, they were like, okay, you need to size down. This is getting too big. So they put me in a small. And then maybe like a week after that, I went down to an extra small. So I was shrinking pretty quickly post-op. And I've been very fortunate that I haven't had much swelling like all over my body. Like some people will have major swelling in their legs, their arms. I haven't had much of that. The only swelling that I've had, obviously, is just within my midsection. I'm actually kind of swollen right now, you may see here. And I've heard that like your lower belly swelling is like the very last bit of swelling to go, which makes sense because it's like right above your incision. But the most swelling I've had has really just been here in my midsection. I have been getting lymphatic massages. So starting like day 3 or day 4 post-op, I got my first lymphatic massage, which is a special kind of massage where it is supposed to like break down that fluid and move that fluid around in your body so your body absorbs it. So you use the bathroom a lot from that too, because you're like peeing out the fluid that your body is like absorbing from the massages. But they're kind of painful just from the lipo. But afterwards, you feel so much better. Like they loosen you up. You don't feel as hard. They just help with swelling as well. And they kind of help with contouring too post-op. I hear feet at my door. I'm sorry, y'all. And he's off. I think they're going to the park with the nanny. So I have been getting lymphatic massages. The first like week or week and a half, I was getting them every single day. And then you can move to like every other day. Then you move to like every 2 to 3 days. So now I'm getting them like once or twice a week. I've also been mixing that with endermology, which I had never heard of before. Even with all my research leading up to the surgery, I had never heard of that. But my doctor has like a section about endermology in her pre-op packet. And it's basically another form of like lymphatic drainage, but it's not done physically like with a masseuse in their hands. It's done with like a machine. So I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just another way of like helping with swelling and getting your body to break down that fluid. And so I've been alternating lymphatic massages with endermology. I will put the information for my lymphatic massage lady. She comes to my house, which is nice, and she was more on the affordable side than other quotes I got. So I'll put her information and the endermologist, if that's what they're called, or endermology information in the description box if you're here in Houston. So I've been doing that, but I will say week 2, I was still down, still moving slow, still tight, but not in really much pain, but I was still spending a lot of time in my recliner. I felt like I was a slow recoverer. Now, everybody's recovery is different. I just felt like I'm fairly young. I was like very in shape, in the best shape of my life before my procedure, working out 4 to 5 times a week. I felt just very strong. I was eating healthy, trying to like get in a lot of protein leading up to my procedure. So I just felt like I was doing everything right. I knew I was going to be the person who like after week 1 was like, I feel great just moving around. And that was not the case for me. I will say I probably spent a little too much time in my recliner instead of getting my body moving. But I just felt like I was a slow recoverer compared to like a lot of other videos, post-op videos that I watched. So week 2, I was still like pretty down, not in pain, more so just uncomfortable, tight, trying to force myself to walk around my house more, but still not in a place to like work, be active, really tend to my kids. I was still heavily dependent on my husband 2 weeks out. I could walk by myself. I could like warm up my food in the microwave. I could use the bathroom by myself. I could shower by myself. He had to help me like get back in my faja because that's kind of hard to put on, but I was still just down, just relaxing, like trying to take it easy, watching a lot of TV. That was really it, week 2. Week 3, I started to feel a lot better, but still I felt like I wasn't anywhere near where other people were. I know a lot of people who have to go into an office or who have a more traditional job than I do. With me, where I work for myself and from home, which was a nice luxury with a big surgery like this. But a lot of people go back to work week 3. So for me, I felt like if I worked a job that I had to go into the office, that would have felt tough for me at that point. But like I said, I probably could have sped up my recovery by being a little bit more active than I was. I didn't start driving until week 3. Like I literally did not drive at all until 3 weeks post-op. Was my first time driving. And now we're at week 4. So now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I feel great. Last week was my first outing, 3 weeks post-op, getting out of the house besides my doctor's appointments, which is crazy. I feel like I've already like kind of gotten a little bit more color just getting out of the house because I was pale from not seeing sunlight for almost 4 weeks post-op. So last Thursday was my very first outing, very first time putting on real clothes after having surgery. Me and Brian went to this little like Houston rodeo kickoff event. We were there for maybe like 2 hours. I felt okay. I got all dressed up. I got my makeup done. I got my hair done that week. And it was just so nice to like feel like myself again. I'm just trying to get through this video. I got kids busting in, calls coming in. Trying to remember where I was even talking about. I think I was saying, oh, I'm here 4 weeks post-op. I got back out last week. I'm pretty much back in the swing of normal life. I kept saying last week, like I'm finally re-entering society again after being in my house for a month, which is crazy to even think about. But I am grateful that I had the luxury and the privilege to truly just take my time recovering and not feel rushed. And I feel like our generation, now I'm just getting deep and I'm talking about something so different, but I feel like our generation, we're so busy, especially as working moms in 2025 now, which is crazy. I think the last video I recorded was 2024, but I think we're just so used to being busy, so it's hard for us to sit down. So people going through a process like this, that's a major procedure that forces you to recover. I think a lot of people kind of struggle mentally and they try and rush like getting back to their normal routine and being back out. And I did have hard moments of just relaxing. I think the hardest part for me was not being able to be as hands-on with my kids as I'm used to. Outside of that, baby, I could sit in my recliner all day, even not being down and watch and binge Netflix. Like I love to chill. I'm a homebody, but not being able to be as hands-on with my kids, not being able to pick up my 13-month-old, my 2-year-old, that was tough. And my husband has been absolutely amazing. He has waited on me hand and foot. He's taking the bulk with the kids. He has to run all of them around. So that part was tough. But now 4 weeks post-op, I'm on the up and up. Like I said, I'm not 100%. I still feel a lot of tightness in my midsection, mainly when I've been sitting like this for a while, like in a 90-degree. Right when I stand up, I'm tight, so I'm trying to work on my posture. Like I find myself sitting up like, okay, shoulders back, head up before I start walking. Because when I went for my appointment last week, my doctor was like, you need to be standing more up straight than you are now. She's like, at this point, she's like, after week 2, you need to be like walking up straight. So she's like, you really need to focus on that and try and force yourself to like work on your posture and stand up straight. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But I feel each day I'm getting like straighter and straighter. I'm moving around, back in the thick of things, dropping kids off to school, dance. Today's a Monday. I don't know when I'm going to post this once I edit it and put it together. But today's a Monday. This past weekend, I had a 3 day dance convention for 2 of my competitive dancers, where one day was like an 8-hour day, the other day was like a 6-hour day. I was able to get through that, like up and down, sitting on the floor, like all different types of things. So I'm like pretty much back to normal, but I haven't been cleared for working out, picking up my kids, like intercourse, any of that. So I'm hoping, I think most people are cleared for all of that by week 6. I have an appointment tomorrow, which will be my 5-week appointment. And then I'm hoping by week 6, I'm cleared for everything. And we have a lot of travels coming up. I start next week with my first trip of the new year and literally have 3 trips back to back to back. So I'm like, by then this body got to catch up to my work schedule, because now it's time to like dive back into everything and really just like hit the ground running. So that is my 4-week post-op. I'm going to create a separate video of things that people should know going into the procedure that they may not know. I wanted to do that as its own separate video so that this one wasn't too long. I just kind of wanted this one to like recap just like how my recovery has been. And now I'm gonna make that separate video of just things that I feel like people don't really talk about that you should know going into a procedure like this. But I'm excited. I'll back the camera up. I'll take this off. I'm in like a little onesie, and just kind of show you the body clothes on. I know a lot of people are going to be dying to see before and afters not without clothes on, but I'm sure, you know, just like my bare stomach, I want to wait maybe a couple more weeks for swelling to go down. My belly button's still healing. And then I will do the debut of the befores and after, because I still have not shared an official before. So y'all will be seeing the before and after all together at the same time, hopefully within the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. I'm backing up, hoping I'm not running into my table, but I'll take my vest off. Like I said, swollen like in this area, but y'all, this is crazy. Get to where you can see me. This is literally crazy for me. I do not have on my faja right now. I do not have on a girdle. I literally have on a bra and underwear in this very thin, like onesie. So this shape that you see is all me 4 weeks post-op. I could have never worn anything like this before my procedure. I would have looked like 3 or 4 months pregnant if I had on something like this. So, and this is still with swelling, as you can kind of see in here. But this is really, really good for 4 weeks post-op. So beyond, I think the 3 days of constipation was worth this final outcome. I just love my figure. I love my shape. I have lost a little weight post-op, which I actually did not want to do because I had got to my goal weight before the procedure. So I would suggest, if you're going through a procedure like this and you kind of have a hard number that you want to be at as far as the scale, then give yourself a little cushion, because most people, well, some people say they gain weight just from swelling, like if they step on a scale, but I think a lot of people lose weight just mainly because you don't have an appetite. You don't have an appetite post-op. And like I said, I was surviving off of like protein shakes, like the little, I actually have them in here. These like Core Power protein shakes. I've shared these in a previous video, but I was surviving off of these for like the first 2 to 3 days. So I lost like 10 pounds, which is crazy. But I lost like 10 pounds just in recovery alone and not intentional. So I'm actually hoping to put back on maybe like 6 or 7 pounds, like once I can work out and build my muscle back up and lift weights. But this is the 4-week progress. So yeah, super, super pleased and excited. So